Regarding the case of 9-year-old Aliahna Lemmon, joining me right now, Sheriff Ken Freeze, his people, his lawmen and lawwomen cracked this case. Sheriff, when did you first become suspicious of Plummedes, the neighbor?
Nancy, I got a call at 10:20 on the 23rd, and they said that she was missing. At 6 o'clock in the morning, they called me and said she wasn't home yet. Our officers have been out searching all night, and we did interviews that day. And as soon as I heard the story, and I refer to it as a story because I think that's exactly what it was, that Michael had told our detectives, things didn't add up. It's, as I said earlier, nobody leaves at 6 o'clock in the morning to go get a cigar, smoke it, and then go to bed. It's not what typically happens. Throw on top of that a 9-year-old that's just missing a couple days before Christmas. 9-year-olds don't run away 2 days before Christmas. My 29 years of history, I've never seen it happen before. So things just didn't add up from the start.
Joining us tonight in a web exclusive from there, Fort Wayne, Indiana, lawman Sheriff Ken Freeze. And Sheriff, it's not just that. You guys went to the scene where he said that he had bought a cigar, and they had surveillance video of him. Thank God you went there immediately, because you know how often they roll back over that video and in 72 hours it's gone. But you got there. There was video backing up his story. And when they jump up at trial, the only place they can go is insanity and say he was insane. You have preserved the video of him walking in, acting stone cold sober, normal, going in and buying something. You've got him on video, right?
Right, and that's the most important thing that we have to deal with now is we look forward to the trial ahead of us, and we have to make sure that we've done everything properly so when it does go to trial, in the end the prosecution wins and this guy gets sent to prison or gets the death penalty, whichever the prosecutor's office goes for.
Well, Sheriff, from what I know of you, I know you're not going to put your opinion out there right now. But, Sheriff, from my viewpoint right here, there's only one answer. There's only one penalty that is appropriate for the man that murdered and dismembered a 9-year-old little girl a couple of hours before Christmas morning. And we all know that that is the death penalty. Unfortunately, if he does get the death penalty, he'll get lethal injection. He'll just go to sleep and never wake up. Okay, with me, Sheriff Ken Freeze in a web exclusive, joining me there at the crime scene there in Fort Wayne. To Dr. Bill Lloyd, board certified surgeon and pathologist. Dr. Lloyd, explain to me what the autopsy entails, why it has taken so long to perform this autopsy on Aliahna.
Good evening, Nancy. An autopsy is a physical examination. We've all had physical examinations. In this case, of course, the patient, the victim, of course, is not alive. The information that is harvested at this autopsy will eventually work its way through the judicial system. It has to be thorough. It has to be accurate. It has to be irrefutable. That means you have to take your time and do it systematically. That means you have to think of everything. You have to take measurements. You have to take photographs. You have to explore every inch of the body, looking for real or imaginary injuries, things that look like a bruise or a bite mark, and maybe they're not. Of course, you brought up the important issue of possible sexual assault, and a lot of time will be devoted looking in body orifices for evidence of body fluids, of pubic hair, or other contacts between the perpetrator, the Michael monster, as we call him, and this unfortunate victim.
And Holly Hughes. Okay, both of you know your way around a courtroom. You've tried between you hundreds and hundreds of cases. Here's the deal. I was reading the probable cause, the affidavit, and have you ever noticed when somebody's giving a confession, they kind of leave out an integral part, a key part, like, yeah, I drove up to the bank and we all went in, and then we jumped in the car and we left. Well, wait a minute. What about the bank robbery? Here, all we've got, Holly Hughes, and I know you've seen it, I know it for a fact. Here we've got, he says he just started beating the girl on the head, bludgeoned her to death on his front porch. Now, you know that's a crock, right? That's all BS. Number one, you don't kill somebody on the front porch for the whole neighborhood to see. All right? And number two, something's missing from that story, i.e. the sex assault on the 9-year-old girl. What about it, Hughes?
Well, Nancy, I got to tell you, this man is 39 years old, and there were 15 registered sex offenders in that area, and he wasn't one of them. You do not get to be 39 years old and not have committed a sexual offense before. So I'm not convinced there is a sexual assault here. I agree with you on one point, Nancy. In the affidavit, we hear the abbreviated version. We hear, I hit her with the brick. But let me tell you something. Those detectives, and we have seen the lawman on tonight, are holding back what precipitated this event. But I'm not convinced it's a sexual assault, Nancy. We don't have any evidence of that in his past.
Holly, one question. Scott Peterson, before he murdered 2 people, did he have a violent past? That's a yes, no.
Not that we know of.
No, no, he did not. Let's just see. Okay, then you've got Gacy, the serial killer. Did he have a violent past?
Yes, he had 39 bodies in his basement, Nancy. Pedophilia is a very different...
Before the murders. Nobody knew who he was.
Pedophilia is a very different crime than murder. Pedophilia is a different crime. I agree, there's a first murder.
So the answer to that would be no. He did not have a criminal history before we found out he was a serial killer. Same thing here. You don't know what this guy's been doing. You don't know what he's been doing. And P.S., there were 18, I believe. Clark, how many pedophiles were in that 30-home area? And another thing, to you, Burris, how long do you think a jury is going to deliberate on this case? Do you really think there's a way for him to avoid the death penalty?
Yes, I do think that there is a way. It's tough, but he's got to work up this whole issue about the psychological defense and or drug history, and maybe he was under the influence of drugs and had a diminished capacity at the time. That could have an impact. Obviously, he's in a very, very tough situation. But
there you go, Burris. That's a good one. That's a good one. My defense, I was high on cocaine when I dismembered a 9-year-old girl.
Well, that goes to the premeditation. It goes to some kind of diminished kind of capacity that he's got to work through. He has to have that, otherwise he's just a straight case.
I hope that's his defense.